Welcome to round 1 of Colon 3 versus Killing is Just a Means of Communication. We are here on Valley as Colon 3 is on Team 2 here. And Killing is Just a Means of Communication is on ANS, Team 1. KGMC is Rex Alley, Sigstack, Chopsticks, and Lost Leviathan. Colon 3, Natasha, Internets, Tavi, and Hivegender. Haven't had a casting match on Valley before this tournament. It would be interesting to see. Both teams already starting to deploy here. Colon 3 focusing. Looks like we have a large cluster of assets here looking A in the center. Perhaps looking to go over top to D point here. Couple of cap assets for the C point here. And some assets down low for E. Valley is a very interesting map. Unlike most maps where the center caps are aligned sort of sideways, all the center caps here are aligned vertically in a big, tall stack here. You say D, E, or D, A, and E here. Wow, I just completely mixed up those letters. Ignore that. I'm fine. Hey, GMC, not a lot of assets on the board just yet. We have some cap assets for B point here. A couple assets, I'm assuming these are going A, and some for E point here. More ships have been deployed on Colon 3's team here. We have, I'm assuming these are the A-cap ships and some ships for the E point. Colon 3 locked in, ready to go. All their ships are on the board and ready to deploy. All players readied up on their end. KJMC is still getting their assets out on the board. Still coordinating on where they want to go here. First player of KJMC unreadied to reset the clock there so they have the time to get their units on the board. There goes the timer as two players lock in. There we go. And here we go. All players locked in. We need to zoom in on, it looks like an Axford here. Is that a missile Axford? Missile backpack, guns on the front. Ooh, 250, 450, love to see that. Some flak on the side, I'm assuming that is. Defenders, very nice. We'll have to see what that is in the back there. Going through the fleets and the deployments really quickly. Chopsticks has, looks like the cap fleet here. Looks like they're doing the standard missile yub destroyer that we saw in their earlier match last weekend. Very nice to see. Gun capper, and gun capper. Yeah, this missile destroyer was incredibly deadly in KJMC's first bout. Able to cripple Acellos even with those salvos. Very, very well designed. They're going to be looking to cap the points and using this ship to deny the points. Firing missiles into priority targets, using the penades on the missiles to get past Acello point defense. Lost Leviathan is bringing the 250, 450 Axford we saw on zoom in here. Those are, that is flak on the sides there. We have 14 SGMH 300s here. Raider Whiplash Drive, fairly standard. Aux steering. We have a Spyglass here, not track correlated. 2 rail destroyers as well. This is a very similar fleet to what we saw Leviathan bring in the first round of the last week. Looking to use the 250, 450 combo to pound both heavy and light assets on OSP. Deny the cap points. Use the rails as fire support for the team. Rex has the beam battleship again. Beautiful. We reviewed this earlier on stream today. Hopefully they made the changes I recommended. We will see what they do. They already do have mount gyros in here, like I suggested that they put for the beam turrets. This is ANS's primary frontline asset. They will want to get that close. It looks like they're deploying it low to the E point, trying to put it near a cap point to force close-range engagements next to it, perhaps trying to go to E and then maybe up to C. We will see what they do with it. And it does have an escorting frigate here for support with jamming. Zigstack has the same escort voxel fleet I believe they brought in the first game they had. Yep. Carrier has some torpedo strikes, has some Tontos for defense, mostly just a support asset. Voxel can run around freely and take out light assets around the map. Colon 3 already calling it GG as ANS gets their cap milliseconds before they do. Love to see this inside, this banter we have here. Taking a look at the, before I go to OSP, we just take a look at the state of the game so far. Both sides deploying a lot of assets to E. ANS does not have anything to cover D, and also nothing to deal with A either, as Colon 3 already has units going to both of those points there. They will not be contested pretty much at all by ANS. Taking a look at OSP's ships here, we have a monitor cluster here. It looks like 5 monitors and a jam shuttle, fairly standard. Mix, oh no, they're all C90s. C90s, plasma, 100 mil, very strong formation here. This is a very heavy frontline fleet. It'll take a lot of effort for ANS to chew through this. Next to it is an Acello here, Auroras, Raider Drive, and a Parallax. That's what you want to see next to monitor balls like that. We saw how effective it was earlier today in our earlier tournament matches. A very effective combo there. Hive Gingers bringing the fleet carrier. Lots of Sturgeons, lots of Barracudas. Air superiority build, I'm assuming here, as it normally is when you bring a fleet carrier. Already has a couple squadrons out. We have 2 halberds over here scouting out. Squadron of 3 of these Piranha rocket ships here are 2s. Looks like anti-cringe cappers, potentially, going for the D point. Unfortunately for this squadron here, there are no ships at D point for it to contest. Vampire is a Naginata air superiority squadron here. Bolt squadron looks also like a defensive squadron here. A mix of Naganatas and some of those R1 defensive missiles. Look like they're going around the map to hunt down enemy squadrons. Internets is bringing the 450 liner dad fleet here. We have it looks like a cap fleet as well. 450 liner with 100 mil sidearms. Very nice to see here. Big Chi drive for the maneuverability. That's pretty good there. You also get a lot of good acceleration out of that drive. Couple sensor assets here. We have it looks like a goalkeeper 100 mil monitor here protecting the C point. Very nice. And some scattered gun cappers. Some of them already on the points here. We have a pair of them on the A point. One of them sees the KJMC cap of the E point and decides to back off quite safely here. Perhaps, have these ships been detected? They have! So it looks like Colon 3 knows that ANS has heavy assets down here, electing to try and keep this ship safe from the battleship and all those other assets. Missiles out from the destroyer onto this ship here that capped A. Unfortunately, they all miss as the chaff deflects those missiles quite well here. I'm assuming this ship also MCON'd to avoid any potential ARAD seekers there. Dagger and Alpha going into the hands of Colon 3 here as their large amount of cap assets compared to ANS really do net them the early lead. We have some ACT ARAD Val missiles coming out here. I'm assuming these are also from the destroyer. Trying to hit the ship on D, although all Internets has to do to soft kill this is do the same thing they did with the other one. Drop chaff, turn off radar, and yeah, those missiles are not going to hit. One of them inexplicably does. Not sure why that happened. Takes out the VLS on the bottom, but doesn't do much damage to that thing otherwise. Last fleet, Natasha is bringing the double Acello fleet. We already saw one of the Acellos hanging out next to the monitor ball. I'm assuming the other one is rails. Yes, it is. Pretty standard rail build here, Dragonfly drive, a lot of E-regs in there. Long-range fire support asset, very nice to have. And then they're also bringing, I'm assuming this is a Bloodhound tug. Yes, it is. Double track correlated, love to see it. All the fleet's done here. Taking a look at the situation on the map so far here. Both sides throwing out their assets. It looks like Colon 3's deployed pretty heavily on the top, where KJMC has deployed really heavily low. It might take a while before these two front lines meet each other, potentially at the A point here. We will see what each side decides to do about that. Monitor ball not detected. I don't think they have been detected yet. ANS does not have a lot of sensor assets. Mostly just, yeah, ANS doesn't really have any sensor assets other than this one compass squadron over here, the Sundial. Sundial with E-lint, wow, okay, very expensive asset there. I believe that's like the only sensor asset that they have. Most of the other ships just like front lines. Look at this, one of these ships flanking over the C point, although C point is being guarded by Plank Boss here. Love to see it. This ship will make short work of those sprinters. Large squadrons of bombers amassing in the backline here as Hivegender readies out massive strikes against any potential capitals that ANS brought. That battleship has been detected. They do know it's there. I do not know if they know it's a battleship yet or not, but at the very least, they do know that there is a large cluster of assets down here, potentially a frontline ball. Grizzly Squadron loaded with torpedoes here, sort of just patrolling around the backline here, escorted by Bolt Squadron, potentially staying in wait for ANS's frontline to push forward. ANS's heavy frontline assets electing to stay pretty bunched here where their point defense grids can work in tandem. Battleship is not really a favored asset on this really long-range map with very open sight lines. Typically, you see gun battleships on this map, but not a lot of beams. Monitor Ball has opened up on this A-cap Sprinter here. It is one of the more expensive gun cappers, and if this, yeah, it's trying to dive into cover here to avoid getting picked out here, but it is out in the open here. Its CIC goes down. Its drive is pretty heavily beat up. I do not think this Sprinter is going to be getting into cover before it goes down here. An unfortunate loss from ANS, considering that they do not have a lot of sprinters to throw around like that. Internet's using their 450 lighters to overlook the E-point, just waiting for those heavy assets to push out. Railguns coming into this this sprinter here, missing the target and going for... Nope, some of them hitting. This ship is not locked, but it is being tracked by the Bloodhound, an extremely accurate track. Most of those R2 missiles from Fury Squadron do miss as this ship loses its drive and decelerates. This ship, however, does get behind cover from the monitors, could be able to get that stuff back online and could be able to limp back into combat, although with how many fires this ship has and all the other damage it's taken, I do not think it's going to be really useful in combat anytime in this, this match. Internet's potentially trying to make a play for E, perhaps... Yeah, these ships get detected over here as they realize that they cannot really do that push. It should be worth noting that Internet's also does have an EO designator on this thing, so they do likely know exactly what this ship is. They have probably identified both of these capitals over here. One of them is a Beam Solomon, identified them both as priority targets. The strength of this, this EO designator... yeah, just immediately being able to determine what ANS has. ANS's fleet carrier here has some bomber squadrons out. Where are these things going? They're just patrolling at the bottom of the map here, probably looking to defend E at this point. Although E is already pretty heavily defended by the battleship and the Axford. They do have... Squadrons are mostly out defending the capitals and mostly just hanging out around the carrier. Interesting. The bomber squadrons are on the move, diving down to the E-point. These are definitely going for that battleship. These are... Bombers are equipped with torpedoes here. Depending on the Seekers, these could be very difficult to counter. We have ARAN Act and Act Command Val. Those are some very strong Seekers here. Foxhound going to Highburn directly for the battleship. Yep, that is definitely strike on the battleship. Defending the BB, we do have a squadron of 5 of these Tontos here, equipped with 20 as well as KBU-15s. Interesting loadout decision there. The battleship, in terms of defense, does have flak. SDMs out from the battleship against the incoming strike. This strike electing to burn through open space to get to the battleship, as they're just going to be very vulnerable to these SDMs. SDMs miss, though, the command not accurate enough, although it does loop back around. The defending squadron not close enough to defend from the front-on attack of these Naginantas, as that is Splash 2 bombers. Some more Naginantas going into Highball Squadron. This was the Escort Squadron. Will it manage to splash any? That is Splash... That's Splash 2 already, yes, as both squadrons lose 2 fighters. Foxhound Squadron taking a lot of damage, forced to turn back. And I was right on the call. It looks like the battleship and Axford are potentially moving up to C point here. This Sprinter lying in wait. No, this Sprinter pushing out into the C cap here. Although this this Plank Boss, it will be able to deny that pretty easily as soon as that Sprinter steps on. The Alliance's Voxel flanking around the map here, about to encounter the Ocello and the Monitors. Perhaps not the fleet you really want to be engaging in a Voxel, although it will distract this fleet here from looking at the battleship for a moment. ANS does not really have any plays for any cap points right now. They are pushing their front line up to C point here, but that will take a while considering how slow these heavy assets are. E point being defended by a single gun sprinter could be wide open for this sneaky little shuttle to do a back cap on. The Voxel getting locked by the Monitors. Broadside to them, loses its magazine immediately, taking heavy fire already, and that is not what you want to see. This Voxel caught out in the open here just gets annihilated. Is just getting pounded on by these Monitors. The Ocello... sorry, the Ocello providing that target lock from that distance there. What is that range? 6 kilometers? Yep, that is definitely the bullseye providing the target lock for those Monitors, as that incoming fire is going to be very accurate into this already very damaged ship here. Only a reinforced drive on there. This thing does not have the drives it needs to do orbit dodging. As the 450 liner comes in from below, this poor Voxel rocking out into the entirety of OSP's front line here just gets annihilated. Nothing else for the enemy front line to focus on but this Voxel, as it's just going to get torn apart here. No restores, lost pretty much all of its guns, reactors down, magazine is gone. This Voxel is mission killed in like 20 seconds. Unfortunate. ANS needs to start looking to make a push here. They've kind of been slacking on the cap game here, as Colon 3's been able to secure all of these cap points pretty uncontestedly. ANS does have some scattered sprinters around the map, potentially looking for cap points if the enemy moves off of them, but the enemy is sticking really close to the points, recognizing that they can just hold them and win. It's on ANS to push here. OSP can just play defensively. Fleet carrier just hanging out in the back of the map here. Doesn't look like it's prepping any other bomber strikes. It does have a couple, oh, Piranha Spearfist strike here, potentially for... Was one of these cap ships detected somewhere? No, potentially they're just, yeah. Perhaps, Hive is just, putting this here to potentially defend the sea cap from any potential. Plank Boss smelled blood. Oh, it did! It has moved out here entirely. Yep, and this ship was detected. Plank Boss, it does know this ship is here. I'm assuming Plank Boss is what was shooting at it. Yeah, that is definitely 100 mil hits on this thing. Although Plank Boss does move out of cover here and is completely exposed to any 450 fire coming from this Axford here. As this Axford has already queued its weapons and missiles out on Plank Boss. The Sprinter able to bait out this defending ship from C point. Rails coming into the Axford for its troubles, though, as Natasha putting this Ocello at a very good position to just pivot fire to priority targets at a moment's notice. Leviathan moving their Axford back behind cover to avoid getting rail struck when it doesn't need to. This is an Act ARAD missile. AMMs come out from Plank Boss. Chaff is also out. All Plank Boss has to do is Chaff and IMCOM. Will it do it in time? Although this missile might deploy... I don't think... This missile might stage too late to hit the target. Potentially. I don't know if the cone's going to be wide enough. It is wide enough. The cone is just wide enough as the missile snaps onto target. It hits. It lands. CIC down. Drive redded out. Although it is double drive, so not really the worst. Although the ship is completely vulnerable, though. Although the ship that KJMC was relying to get the point has been caught out here by the monitors and Acellos and is just getting annihilated. It is going to go down before it manages to take advantage of this crippled monitor. A massive fighter escort for just these two sturgeons. Hive taking no chances with their fighter escort, making sure that their ships are successfully escorted. Although, yeah, now that I say that, Splinter and Highball are splitting off here. Perhaps they accidentally tasked that many ships to escort the bomber squadron here. The monitors from Colon 3, played by Tavi, are so well positioned this game, able to just snipe off ANS cap assets here and there around the points. Colon 3 securing the E point. ANS has moved off the point entirely, and there is nothing to defend this. Missiles out from the destroyer at the Acello. These are the very expensive anti-Acello salvos. We will see if these manage to get through Natasha's point defense here. Also being secured by OSP here, although the carrier will have something to say about that. Or not, the missiles get shot down. The carrier is detected in the backline. The missiles stage early. A lot earlier than they should have. Don't know why they staged that soon. Although these missiles are still going to hit, regardless of the poor staging. Those are HEKP, unfortunately. Oh, those are the HEKP. Takes out the reactor, takes out a lot of the buff modules up here, although this Acello is still perfectly recoverable. E-point engagement is happening as the carrier desperately trying to get rid of this this shuttle here, dropping unguided bombs on a ship that still has point defense. Not what you want to see. Another one joins the fray here. This cringe capper perhaps looking to absorb fire for its brethren. The carrier is just completely detected over here by these cappers. Missiles come out from the destroyer to try and help on the B point here. Looks like they go into the cringe capper, not doing a whole lot of damage. The missile destroyer pushed up pretty far, no longer safe in the backline there. As Colon 3 secures the 5 cap. ANS was too slow on their push down here, as they've just been sitting in the corner of the map here, not doing anything. They've elected to go up and over. Interesting. Maybe trying to go for A or D, but those cap points are way far away. C here being overlooked by the monitors, though, is definitely not really an optimal place for them to go. Colon 3 just able to lock down the entire map, while ANS is just on safari with their entire front line.
The enemy is securing zone Boxer.
Boxer being resecured by ANS as they manage to push off these cappers here. These bombers are definitely going for Alliance's carrier. It was detected earlier on by those cap assets. Hive definitely wants to get a strike against it, knock it out of the fight entirely. Yeah, Alliance just had no sensor assets this match, unable to really determine where the enemy is. They were unable to really get a push going. And that is showing now as they are down 300 points. They're only going to hold on to 1 cap here. They have no ships in position to take any other caps. This monitor ball here just completely zoned out any capping assets that KJMC was throwing. They were just always in the optimal position to take out the scattered sprinters that ANS had. Very, very good positioning from Tavi. The Acello pretty much back online entirely. Its reactors restored, restoring some of the ammunition elevators. Chopsticks unfortunately not getting the bow-in strike that they wanted against that Acello. Avarice Squadron might run out of fuel before they find the carrier here. They are very low. They are down to 3.6 kilometers. And that is unfortunately, I believe, well out of range of the carrier. Yeah, this bomber squadron is going to have to turn home. It's going to run out of fuel before it finds a target. Although another bomber squadron, Tyrant, still has plenty of fuel. This is a Torp squadron here of 3 bombers. These definitely have the range to get to the carrier. That is, if they can find it. Six Stack still trying to launch bomber strikes, although hasn't really been able to get the bomber strikes out that they wanted to. Unable to find targets that haven't been closely guarded by combat air patrol or Acellos. ANS committing to the C push here, realizing that it is their best chance to get a cap point. The Beam Solomon moving on to the point here. The monitors have moved on to the A cap here. Might not be able to defend the C point effectively from there. Now, that being said, they are still within, what is that range bracket? Around 8 kilometers of C. A very passive match, as neither's team frontline has been, like, able to engage each other. Nothing really happens this game, as Colon 3 just takes the cap points, and they're at a 400-point cap advantage. They have 4 caps to ANS's 1. ANS's attacks unable to really do much of anything. One of the railstones getting caught out by the monitors here loses its drive and is just going to get picked off by them. Another missile strike out from the destroyer here onto this Acello. This Acello is stern on. This could be the hit that Chopsticks was looking for. Although, oh, those are going to get soft killed. They're going for the chaff. Unfortunate for Chopsticks there, as the Acello properly soft kills the entire salvo. And the missile destroyer has been located and is locked by this Acello. This Acello has already pivoted its guns to engage it, and this destroyer is probably not going to last all that much longer. Missiles do go out onto the monitors. Land several hits into the drive section of one of them, although that is still entirely recoverable. ANS still slowly moving onto the C cap here with their really slow frontline assets. Not what you want to cap points here. The carrier got cut out by something. Takes a hit to its magazine. What hit you? Is that 450? That is HESH rounds from the monitors. The monitors have found the carrier. These things are a lot closer to it than I thought they were. Splinter Squadron fires some S1s at the combat air patrol, trying to make the way for these torpedo bombers to get through. Although these monitors should be more than enough to deal with this carrier. ANS securing a couple cap points, but unfortunately for them, it is too little too late, as they are so far behind on points that they would need a 5 cap to win this. Here is the really strong salvo. It's out against the rail cello here. This rail cello is broadside onto the missile destroyer, so unfortunately these are, just like the first cello, these are not really going to be doing the damage that Chopsticks wants them to. The decoys are out. Missiles have acquired. Although, did the EO get shot down? Oh, no, they hit. I just wasn't looking. The They do mission kill the rail cell, though. Without those reactors, it cannot fire the turrets. They took out one asset, at least. Beam Battleship finds Plank Boss. Cores out one of its drives, but Plank Boss gets away. C goes to ANS. Dagger is being secured by ANS-2. Unfortunately, in order to tie this up, they would definitely need to take A point here. Although this ship sitting here is still alive. Can it get its drive back online? I don't think it can. I think that, unfortunately, ANS just doesn't have the time here to get all the caps. And even if they got all the caps, they would need to hold them. And unfortunately, it looks like there are assets around the map to do sneaky back caps. Killing is just a means of communication. Recognizing the writing of the wall. Calling GG on this one, realizing they're going to be unable to get the caps to that they need to turn this around, as Colon 3 wins this one, making it 1-0 in their favor, just completely zoning out ANS's front line simply by just existing in the middle of the map, able to just secure all the cap points, and yeah, ANS was just unable to get that decisive engagement that Beam Battleship and Axford really wanted. A very, very passive match to start today, as neither side's frontline really engaging much at all. The monitors did find the carrier at the ends, but that was about it. The fleet carrier that Hivegender brought didn't even do anything, really. Just kind of existed for the most part. Very, very low damage numbers across the board here, as that was certainly one of the most interesting matches I've seen in the tournament so far.